Hello everyone. Today we are back to discuss about the static means marathon courses, which will deal with some of the specific topics which are basically important for you in the static portions. As we have seen that people tries to complain me about something in association with economics. So we have taken some important static economic topics which will be very much relevant for you in understanding various terms of economics, okay, or various terms of terminologies which are very important for your affairs, which is directly in touch with economics. Myself, Japul, is trying to start with this particular session of economics. Okay, so let's start. Today we'll discuss various elements in association with the economic portion, saying about the macroeconomics mainly, okay, and we'll discuss about all this particular contents which you can see. Okay, so let's start. So firstly, when I have to define about the meaning of economics or macroeconomics, so macroeconomics boli koa laga laga ki buji pao ami. See, it's a branch of economics that depicts a substantial picture which scrutinizes itself with the economy at a massive scale and also at several issues of an economy considered. So, that macroeconomics as a separate branch of economics emerged after the British economist John Maynard Keynes published his celebrated book, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money in 1936. Okay, please do remember this one, which is a very important and a famous book under the concepts of macroeconomics. Okay, so therefore you can see that macroeconomics is a branch of economics that studies out an overall economy, the market that operates on a large scale behaves. So today, if I have to go with the macroeconomics part, there are various concepts which are under macroeconomics. Today I could see that there is a concept of a capitalist nation amongst the macroeconomics. What is a capitalist nation? See, a capitalist country is distinguished by suburbanized and voluntary conclusions for economic planning instead of the consolidated political practices. And therefore we can see that there are very few aspects of capitalist financial structure. So at some point of time, if I have to say about the attributes of the capitalist nation, which are basically liberty of customers to pick between goods and services, the privilege of individuals to set up business to supply goods and services, that if I have to say about the finite interference of government, and even I can say about the market forces which regulates the distribution of goods. So like you have put it, capitalist nation are at a conditions of policy. Even if I have to say about the concepts which are considered amongst macroeconomics, that is the investment expenditure. So investment expenditure kya is? As the name suggests, I can say that it is the money consumed towards changes to create investments. And in other words, I can directly say that the money that the family circle or households and enterprises spend on capital goods is known to be the investment expenditure. And therefore, it plays a decisive role in macroeconomic pursuit for business cycles and economic enhancement in the long run. So there are following types of investments which we can see in the context of macroeconomics. I can see the autonomous investments, I can see the financial investment, third I can see the real-time investment, gross investment, and lastly I can say about the net investments. And out of the investments, the revenue that has been generated, which is the total income of an entity through sale of goods and profiteering into its services, is referred to as something which is known as revenue. And this revenue can be both operating as well as non-operating. So therefore the significance of revenue and its acknowledgement is better comprehended if we are well aware of the aspects that are contemplated while deciding the GDP of the country. So therefore when I have to say about the macroeconomics, so macroeconomics boli koa laga laga koise that it studies economy very widely. Phenomena such as inflation, rate of economic growth, national income, gross domestic product, ek gute khini sai. And often it says about the scenario of employment that we can see in our Indian context. Okay, so ekhini ami macroeconomics of poda koise. then we can see that there are various factors of production which are crucially important for the distinguished element of macroeconomics. So the four factors of production, these are basically land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. এই চাৰিটা বস্তু আছে কি কি ক'লে ল্যান্ড ক'লে লেবাৰ ক'লে capital ক'লে আৰু entrepreneurship ক'লে. So if I have to see about the factors of production, কি কৈছে land to physical and mental workforce, then capital fixed and working to purchase capital goods, labor renewable and non-renewable sources, entrepreneurship enterprise or combination of factors. So now land is a very crucial element when we are discussing something about the factors of production. Okay, so this category includes the natural resources used to produce goods and services, including the land itself, the minerals and even nutrients in the ground, the water, wildlife and vegetation on the surface and even the air above. Without land, যদি আজি land নাথাকিলেতেন মই আজি খাৰাপ হৈ থাকিলেতেন না এটা খাৰাপ হৈ থাকিলে. If there would not have been land, it would have been difficult for us to even create any form of investment. তেতিয়া এই গোটেই concepts বিলাক of investment economy, macro economy, everything would have done wasted. Because at certain stage of time, land is the crucial element which defines us about what to be made in this particular area. What needs to be appropriated in this particular area, that is the crucial element of the first factor which is to be said as land. Okay, so yaad heikini bostu ahi jay. Second ki ahi jay labor, which is the services and efforts of the humans that are used for production. And while labor is commonly thought of as those who works in factories, it includes all human efforts such as those provided by clerical workers, technicians, professionals, managers and even company presidents. So there are various forms of labors. Okay, one is giving physical labor, one is getting mental labor. Okay, as I supposedly today we are not made to work something which is going with the physical element. I am physically, maybe I am present in the office, but at some point of time my mental labor is something crucial which is demanded in my office as compared to my physical labor. So therefore that is one important factor why labor is one of the important area or factor of macroeconomics. So labor lagibo, without labor you cannot succeed. আজি যদি মই কলোহেঁতেন যে if this is a particular unit, this particular Android TV, if this particular unit would have not been carried out from the ground floor by a labor, এই জায়গাত আহিলেহেঁতেন নে বস্তুটো কেতিয়াও নাহিলেহেঁতেন. Physical labor, the person who has directly went on for getting everything in the screen, যিজনে আহি পেলাই ইনষ্টল কৰিলে, he is a technician, so he is going for mental labor. So therefore labor is one of the services and efforts that humans directly put on the factors of production. Okay, that's what I like capital. It includes the manufactured or previously produced resources used to manufacture or produce other things. Common examples of capital are factories, buildings, trucks, tools, machineries and equipments used by businesses in their productive pursuits. এখিনি হৈ গ'ল কি capital হৈ গ'ল. Without a human capital, without a resource capital, you cannot establish a respective business or a unit. Lagiboi. Because without this capital, it would have been difficult to create factories, it would have been difficult to create products outside the purview of this respective macroeconomics. So, etu karone amar yate ki ahi jay something which has to be told as the capital. So capital's primary role in the economy is to improve the productivity of labor as it transforms the natural resources of land into wants and needs satisfying goods. So amar jikhini resources ase, সেই resources kine betterment of koribole ami ki koribo lagibo, we have to increase the capital. Without the capitals and without the primary role of the capital, it would have been difficult to maintain everything that we basically want in a respective economy. Okay, last one amar ki ahi gol entrepreneurship. It's a special sort of human effort that takes on the risks of bringing labor, capital and land together and organizing production. Today we have seen that entrepreneurship tendency has directly gone viral. আজি entrepreneurship sobotke topot ase, And we have seen that entrepreneurs are everywhere. Today we have seen a good number of unicorns in our country. Unicorns bahi goi ase. Kiho kane bahise? Because today the government is much more focused towards entrepreneurship, which is going for a rapid R&D. R&D basic hoise. R&D factors are slowly and slowly increasing. And therefore people have got new ideas, new talent, and they are inheriting it in the factors of production. And therefore entrepreneurship is also one of the prime area where all these three factors, be it labor, capital and land, together accumulates to make the economy much good as well as much resourceful. So that is the prime aspect of what we can directly say about entrepreneurship. Okay, so entrepreneurship is a special sort of human effort that takes on the risk of bringing labor, capital and land together and organizing production units inside the respective economy. So that is the crucial element of this particular thing. Okay, please down the AC. Okay, now coming to some of the economic agents. Okay, mostly economic agents or katha ko. Okay, there are some various forms of economic agents which are very much important for the economy, and this directly acts something which are grouped under various stages of economy. Supposedly today if I have to say about different groups in the economy, I can say they are basically the producers who produces the goods and services, they are the consumers, and even there is a particular government who collects tax from the producers also, from the consumers also. So that is the different groups which we can see today in the economy, which is directly going for some form of tax or the other. So I can say that the expenditure or the spending which we can see. So government expenditure is classified in two ways which we all know. One is the capital expenditure and another one is the revenue expenditure. Duta type of expenditure ase. Hetu sobe jane moi bhabu je eta ki kolo ami capital expenditure aru eta kundu kolo revenue expenditure. So when government incurs expenditure to create assets such as schools, hospitals, roads, bridges, canals, railway lines, airports, or reduce its liability such as repayment of loan, etc. Such expenditure is known to be the capital expenditure. Ki kolo moi akobar kon repeat koru. You want to repeat? Okay, I will repeat it. So when government incurs expenditure assets to create assets such as schools, buildings, airports, roads, canals, bridges, or reduces its liability such as repayment of loan, we can directly tell it to be the capital expenditure. So it too one form of expenditure. There is one another thing which is known to be the revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditure ki hai? We can see that when government incurs expenditure that neither creates any asset nor reduces any liability, such expenditure is referred to as revenue expenditure. Mane na he asset to hoy na he to asset or amar kiba loss hoy. So it's basically an equilibrium which is said to be something as revenue expenditure. So today, for example, payment of salaries to government employees, maintenance of public property, providing free education and healthcare services to the people, this constitute what? A revenue expenditure. As a government as a iman kini government service or manu bilakok, be it from the 4th grade to the 1st grade, and anyone who is basically associated with the government services, a gute manu kini je salary ase salary kini ami kihor pelai aso revenue expenditure. Karon ekhini pra kiba profit ahise niki amar profit eko aha. So that is the government incurs expenditure that neither creates any asset nor reduces any liability, and that is directly referred to as the revenue expenditure. Aru hetu ami ki koi asu? The payment of salaries to government employees, maintenance of public properties, a right to education, free education, under Article 21A of the Indian Constitution, healthcare service to the people. Okay, a scheme bilak je salami bohun dhora scheme kiba scheme corporate revenue expenditure. So therefore, when we have to say about the money spent on capital goods or goods used in the production of capital goods or services, all such number of investment, ek nite gute spending or kotha kohise, that is the expenditure. Okay, so therefore, when I have to say about this one, that is the role of the government in this particular level of expenditure, I can say that establishing and enforcing the rules of the game, promoting competition, regulating natural monopolies, producing public goods, income redistribution, employment, price stability, economic growth, এইবিলাক এটা important fundamentals of the government mechanism to inculcate what? To inculcate the situation of investment spending, which is basically known to be the expenditure form. Okay, so today if I have to see about the types of tax from where all such number of produce, that is the revenues are produced, we can see that there are proportional tax, which is also known as the flat rate tax. So the tax as a percentage of income remains constant as income increases. So etu proportional tax hoy. More income to, supposedly if I am going for an income of 10,000, so 10,000 mo 1% di asu. Kali porohi jodi mo 20,000 hoy jay, tate mo 1% di asu. 30,000 1%, 40,000 1%, etu ki hoy jabo? Proportional tax, which is basically known as the flat rate tax. That's why is a progressive tax. That means tax as a percentage of income increases as income increases. It our Indian बहुत follow है. Okay, 0 to 5 lakh, 5 to 10 lakhs or lakh. Okay, no tax, 5% tax, 10% tax, 15% tax, bahi bahi go. So whenever more to the 1%, 10,000 asile, 20,000 हवा लगा 2% होगा, 30,000 हवा लगा 3% होगा, 40 हवा लगा 4% होगा, तने के बाही जाएगा. So that is known as what? Progressive tax. That is the tax as a percent of income increases as income increases. Okay. Next, regressive tax. Tax as a percent of income decreases as income increases. More toka bahi ase, more income bahi ase, more salary bahi ase, but more tax komi goi ase. That is known as what? Regressive tax. So yate ami buji pao paru progressive tax, regressive tax, proportional tax. Etu progressive tax hoy, uthi goi thake. Etu proportional tax hoy. Okay, or etu regressive tax hoy, mane etu negative falole goi ase. Okay, these two are basically positive in nature. These two are basically positive in nature. So that is the core aspect of this particular element, which is known to be the regressive tax. That's why he is a government expenditure jitu ma kolu. Okay, revenue expenditure as well as the capital expenditure. Okay, then here I can say about the circular flow of income in a simple economy. So আজি যদি মই এটা simple economy ধৰো, ইয়াত circular income তো কেনেকৈ হ'ব? Obviously there are crucial elements which are important for a circular economy. See, there is a flow of goods and services. Okay, and in this particular households the consumers are there. Okay, here the money which is directly being received. Okay, these are the factor inputs, be the land, labor, capital as well as organization. যেটা আমি even entrepreneurship বুলি ক'ব পাৰো. There is particularly farms where people are directly getting employed, and then the same cycle directly repeats again and again. So that is basically known as the circular flow of income. That means from one place to the other, from this place to this place, the economy directly moves upon in a circular pattern. Ekhini ami koi aso circular economy. Okay, then the four sector model you can see. Okay, here the important components you can see, the household is an important component, the farms are an important component, the government is an important component, as well as the foreign sector is an important component. So etu our rahi jabo ki four sector model rahi. Each and other's contribution is very important. Aji household contribution is also important. Farms or the organizations, they can all contribution is important. Tar upor government contribution is important, or tar upor foreign sector contribution is important. Okay, be supposedly in the form of the FDI, foreign direct investment. Okay, there are various models, investment models. Okay, three types of investment model. Ki ase? Eta public investment model, eta private investment model, aru eta PPP, public private partnership. Ye public private partnership oto 7ta finance schemes ase. BOT, BOO, okay, build, operate, transfer, build, operate, own, both thini ase amar. So in this particular sector also we can see such number of models that has been laid down under the four sector model. Now if I have to come towards the goods বুলি কলে কি বুঝো আমি? A commodity or a physical tangible item. Tangible মানে চুব পাৰি. Okay, supposedly মই যদি গৈ পেলাই এনেকৈ কেমেৰাটো তোমালোকৰ চুই দিওঁ, তে কেমেৰাটো মই চুব পাৰো. So that is what tangible items. So a commodity or a physical tangible item that satisfies some human want or need or something that people find useful or desirable and make effort to acquire it, that is particularly good. Okay, I will try. Supposedly if this is basically a pen, it will a pen hoy. This pen directly gets attached to this particular location enake kiba magnet ase lagi jay. Okay, so this is basically a tangible item. Intangible item নহয় etu. Kali porhi jodi mur yak lobo mon ase moi tu lobo paru, I can pick it up. Tangible item, physical item. Okay, so here heru kothai koise commodity or a physical tangible item that satisfies some human want or need or something that people find useful or desirable and make effort to acquire it. That is known as what? Goods. Okay, so here we can see there are various different types of goods. Public good or kotha ase, consumer goods, capital goods, substitute goods, private goods, different good, complementary good, ek gutte goods blocks. So today if I have to say about the free goods, so if one does not need to pay anything for a good, it is called as what? Free goods. And what is the best example of free good? Best example of free good. Best example of free good is the air we breathe. Air we breathe. As a continuously oxygen pabole, are we paying? Kunma pay korise niki? No, we are not paying. So that is the aspect of free good. Okay, so therefore it has its utility, but it is so abundant in nature that we don't need to pay a price for its production as well as for its uses. So however, goods sold for free for promotion is not a free good in economic sense. Okay, so today if I have to say about goods versus bad in economy, I can say that for goods other than free goods we need to have a positive price because of their respective utility. And however, we can see that there are various instances where we need to pay negative price for goods. For example, garbage has got no utility, but we need to pay garbage plus some money to the garbage collector. Am I saying it correct? That is what. In economic sense, it becomes a bad and antithesis of good. Etu bostu ahi jay good versus bad in economy. Now if I have to say about basic good mane ki hoy? Normal good, which itself may not have utility, but good derived from it has that utility. For example, cotton or textile is a basic good, hoy na hoy? Because apparels made from this particular goods has got an utility. Aji etu cotton or t-shirt hoy. So aji mo cotton to directly pina nai, mo cotton or t-shirt ta pini asu. So obviously it has got its utility. And in other sense, I can say that bulk or raw material products used for the production of items, basically in agriculture, manufacture or construction, are also called as basic goods. Now if I have to say about intermediate goods bila ki hoy? It is incomplete good which goes into input for further finishing. And thus I can say that these goods which are ultimately sold to consumers are first sold to industry, and industry uses this particular goods for selling it to the end consumers. So yate jodi moi ko intermediate goods er kotha, there are various forms of intermediate goods that we can see in our society, in even our respective economy. So in the production chain, intermediate goods lies between raw material and finished goods. Intermediate goods মানে আজি যদি মই কব বিচাৰো যে a car's engine, গাড়ীৰ যিটো ইঞ্জিন হয়, it's an intermediate good. আমি কি শোরুমত গৈ পেলাই ইঞ্জিনটো কিনি আনো নেকি খালি? নিকিনো. We directly go with the finished product. আমি finished product কিনিবলৈ যাওঁ. So therefore engine is what? It's an intermediate good. So therefore it is basically something which is incomplete good which goes as input for further finishing. And thus in production chain, intermediate good lies between raw material and finished goods. বুজি পালে সবে? তাৰপিছত আমাৰ আহে finished goods. That is completely required manufacturing and is basically ready to provide its utility, which is known to be the finished goods. And even I can say about the capital goods. Capital goods kunla hoy? It is used for plants, machinery and various other assets which are used for conversions of basic goods to finished goods. And we also note that capital good provides service without losing its essential function characteristics. So if I have to say a capital good itself is a finished good because it itself does not need any further processing. এই গোটেই যিমানখিনি গুডছৰ মই কথা ক'লো, these goods are very essential once you are discussing about the types of goods that we can see in our respective economy. বহুত importantly আমাৰ এইখিনি বস্তু cover up হৈ যায় with respect to this goods. Okay, so ইয়াতে বহুতখিনি আছে, free goods, consumer goods, producer goods. Okay, so consumer goods কোনবিলাক? যোনবিলাক consumers খাই আছে, bread, fruits, milk, clothes, consumer goods. Producer goods কোনবিলাক? The goods that are basically needed by the producers, mainly the raw materials that are the producer goods. Example, এটা machinery through raw materials যিখিনি কৈ আছে, ঠিক আছে? So এইবিলাক আহি গ'ল, intermediate goods যিখিনি মই কথা ক'লো. Okay, so ইয়াতে the two sector model. Okay, you can see the two sector model. ইয়াতে কি আছে? The farms আৰু ইয়াতে households আছে. Okay, farms আৰু householdsৰ মাজত কি চলি আছে? Spending চলি আছে. Okay, so the farms and the households are basically spending, and therefore you can see that goods and services are basically happening between these two factors. Yar মাজত হৈ আছে factor payments, and therefore this is a type of scenario that we can see in our respective economy. Eto amar economic চলি আছে. Important factor, because without this, even the small scale farms also cannot work in the society. ঠিক আছে, তো এই বস্তুটো আমাৰ ইয়াত আহি যায়, that is known as the two sector model. Okay, তাৰপিছত ইয়াতে আমাৰ two sector model লগত mainly GDP বুলি কোৱাৰ লগে লগে কি আহি যায়? GDP কি হয়? It is the sum total of all finished goods of a country within a stipulated period of 1 year. So sum total of finished goods কৈছো. It will not be the intermediate goods, it will not be the producer goods, it will not be the consumer goods, but finished goods of কথা কৈছো. So therefore GDP measures the monetary measure of all final goods and services, those that are bought by the final user, which is produced in a country in a given period. And therefore there are four key engines of GDP growth. And what are these four key engines of GDP growth? We can see that all the money Indians spend for their private consumption is one. Okay, second key ahibo, all the money the government spent on its current consumption. Second. Third key ahibo, all the money spent towards investment to boost the productivity capacity of the economy. And lastly, the net effect of exports. And what is the net effects of exports? It means the export minus import. So ekhini ki ahi jay, four key engines of GDP growth. Now if I have to say about the calculation of GDP, so etu kane GDP boli koa lage lage ki ahi jabo? When I say GDP boli koa lage lage ki ahi jabo? GDP is equals to private consumption plus the gross investment, GI, যেটো আমি GI বুলি কম, gross investment within a particular year period. তাৰপিছত government's investment, government invest কৰি আছে, government হেতু বছৰত spend কৰি আছে, government spending GS, plus the net export and import, which is known as যেটো NX to কেনেকৈ ওলাবা, export minus import কৰি পেলাই. So that is directly the formula how we are calculating the GDP. ইয়াতে মই কি ক'লো GDP? আগৰ পৰা চাই লোৱা কি ক'লো GDP? GDP is equals to private consumption plus gross investment by these people, that is the private people, then government investment plus government spending plus net exports. So এই NX to কেনেকৈ ওলাই আছো? NX to export minus import. Okay, so etu ahi gol ki GDP hatal ahi gol amar. Yar logot aro eta concept add hoi thake which is known to be the GVA. Okay, yar amar ahi ase GVA buli. So we can see etu ahi moi yar ahi jai gross value added GVA. Okay, so jetia moi GVA kotha koi asu, GVA buli kole ki buju? GVA is calculating the same national income from the supply side. It does so by adding up all the value added across different sectors. And therefore the GVA of a sector is defined as the value of output minus value of intermediary inputs. So therefore the value added is shared among the primary factors of production, labor and capital. So therefore by looking at the GVA growth, one can understand which sectors of the economy is robust and which is basically struggling. So now if I have to say that how GDP and GVA are related, see, GDP is derived by looking at the GVA data. Okay, GVA nohua ke ami GDP uliabo noharu. So GDP is derived by looking at the GVA data. And the GDP and GVA are related to the following equation, that is GDP is equals to GVA plus taxes earned by the government minus subsidies provided by the government. Etu ki ulai go GDP ulai go. So GDP ki ulai go. GDP is equals to gross value added GVA, okay, plus taxes earned by the government, taxes earned by the government minus subsidies provided by the government. So the given formula here. This is directly saying about the relation between GDP and GVA. That ami jodi GDP calculate koribo lage, then how GVA is making an important factor. So thus this GDP data is more useful when looking at annual economic growth and when one wants to compare the economic growth of a country either with its growth in the past or with another country. So therefore this GVA is one of the crucial element, that is the value addition to the respective products that the country is producing within that particular year. And etu amar directly eta formula ahi to calculate what is known to be the GDP as well as the GVA. Okay, so yate etu recently amar asile. So we know about the inflation rates that has been taken from the Press Information Bureau. Okay, so ami jano 2022-23 as per December 2022 amar yate this is the type of CPI combined, okay, inflation, and this is basically the shoot that has been seen in this particular context, that is the inflation rates. Okay, here I can say about the GDP growth. Okay, GDP growth obviously has been capped to 6 to 6.8%. Okay, yeah, the GDP growth to cap kori se yate ekhin loge. Then in this particular picture you can see about the estimate, GDP growth estimate. Okay, the quote kenege ama expect kori ase fiscal deficit in this particular year it was around 9.2. Then here it is expected to be 6.4. Okay, inflation 11.5%. Okay, then slowly we can see about the service sector contribution. Then we can see about the foreign exchange reserves that we have today in our country. It's around $563 billion. Okay, so etu thakile. Then what are the agricultural activities and their respective contribution towards the economy of our country. So yate a gute graph kona ami gute kisman data black dia ase. So please note this particular data very carefully. Okay. So ekhini amar value addition log kotha ahi jay. Now if I have to say about this one, that is product or value added methods of calculating national income. Yate national income or eta kotha ahi jay. So national income boli koa log ami ki buju? See, national income of any country means the complete value of the goods and services produced by any country during any financial year. GDP ki asile? Only the finished goods. ठीक है सर, GDP asile only the finished goods, but here I can directly say that it is the complete value of goods and services produced by any country during any financial year. And therefore the consequence of all economic activities that are running in any country during the period of 1 year, it is valued in terms of money. And therefore in short one can say that national income of any country is the total amount of income that is acquired by various economic activities in 1 year. And therefore it is helpful in determining the progress of the country. So as the national income or kotha ko, national income will include what? It will include the wages, it will include the rents, it will include the profits, it will include the factors of production like labor, capital, land, entrepreneurship of a nation. Tate kiman kharas goi ase, so bahi jabe. So the first attempt to calculate the national income of India was made by Dadabhai Naoroji in 1867-68, who estimated that the per capita income of India should be around rupees 20. And the first scientific method, which was used by Professor V.K.R.V. Rao in 1931-32, which was not very satisfactory, was not directly taken by even the government of India. So now, আমি যেটো এতিয়া লওঁ হেটো আমি কেনেকে লৈছিলো, that is the official attempt after independence. It was by Professor P.C. Mahalanobis in 1949, who was heading the National Income Committee. And according to this particular National Income Committee report of 1954, national income of India was rupees 8,710 crore and per capita income was around rupees 225 in around 1948 or 50. And today we know that the Central Statistical Organization, now renamed as the Central Statistical Office, CSO, has been promulgating the national income of the country. So there are various measures to even define what goes with the national income. Firstly, national income directly goes with the GDP. GDP first time, national income to go with that. Second factor out kiya hai, GDP bahire. We can see at the GDP at factor cost. GDP at factor cost ki include kore? Compensation of the employees, okay, operating surplus, mixed income of central point, ebila bostu GDP at factor cost include kore. Tarpsot amar ahi jay net domestic product, NDP juli ami ko, which is the value of the net output of the economy during a particular year. Tarpsot nominal GDP, real GDP, ebila por kotha ahi jay. Okay, yar ami kotha bilak ami discuss korimai. Okay, so nominal GDP, real GDP, all these things directly comes into prominence. See, net national product, it have NNP. So you have market price of GNP minus depreciation. Okay, net national product factor cost, national income, NNP at market prices minus indirect taxes plus subsidies. It was called net factor cost. Okay, then we can see about all these things. Personal income also adds up to build up the national income. Okay, then you can see about that how we are directly going with the calculation of all this one. Nominal GDP, or nominal GDP is a measure of the value of all final goods and services produced within a country's borders at current market prices. So it is nominal GDP kotha hi jabo. Okay, so yate nominal GDP, real GDP ki hoy? Total economic output that is produced values at a constant market prices. So here we have got a wide difference of what is basically nominal GDP or real GDP. So yata nominal GDP ki kole sum total of economic output produced in a value at a current price. Aur yate sum total of economic output produced in a year valued at a predetermined basic market price. So etu ahi gol nominal GDP or real GDP matlab. Etu current price. Jetu immediately describe korise. Etu predetermined asile. Okay. Effect of inflation. Nominal GDP does not take inflation into account. Real GDP into inflation to account of life. Expressed in current market price, base year market price. Value of GDP is much higher since current market changes are taken into effect, much lower since market price of the base year is taken into consideration. Uses can be compared with various quarters of the given year, can be compared with 2 or more financial years. Economic growth from nominated GDP, economic growth can be analyzed usually. Real GDP is a good indicator of economic growth. So A bila kase, the difference, the main difference which we can categorize between the nominal GDP and the real GDP. Difference amar ki mainly sum total hoy, economic output hoy, but mainly the value of the current market price and the predetermined price is the change in the current, in the nominal as well as in the real GDP. A to the main difference hoy in these two contexts. Okay, start by here we cannot see any type of difference between this one. So A to amara is nominal GDP or real GDP in some of the important scenarios. Okay. Also, let us talk GDP deflator, which is an index of price change of goods and services. Okay, which is an index of price change of goods and services that is included in the GDP. So it's basically a price index which is calculated by dividing the nominal GDP by year by the real GDP. So আজিলি মই কওঁ GDP deflator or formula যদি মই আজি কৈ যাওঁ, it's equals to the normal GDP, that is the nominal GDP only, by the real GDP into 100. বুজি পালা? তো এটো কি হ'ব? Nominal GDP will be at current prices. And real GDP will be at constant prices. That is predetermined. Okay, so A2 ahile GDP deflator. That is nominal GDP versus real GDP into 100. A2 constant up, A2 current up. Done with this? Okay, so A2 asile amar ki GDP deflator. So A2 karone kom that it is also known as the price deflator and it measures the impact of inflation on the GDP of an economy during a period of one fiscal year. So A2 ahi gol GDP deflator or kotha. Okay, now if I comes towards the CPI and the WPI, consumer price index aru wholesale price index. CPI mane ki hoy? It measures the price changes from the perspective of the retail buyer. It ahi gol ki CPI, and therefore it is released by whom? The National Statistical Office. So therefore the CPI calculates the difference in the price of commodities and services such as food, medical care, education, electronics, which India consumers buy for its use. So therefore CPI has several groups including foods and beverages, fuel and light, housing and clothing, banking and footwear, not banking, sorry, bedding and footwear. So therefore we have seen there are 4 types of CPIs. Ki ase? Can anyone comment? There is CPI for industrial workers. Asane? Ase. There is CPI for agricultural laborers. There are CPI for rural laborers. And also there is CPI for rural or urban laborers combined. Okay. So therefore if I have to see for all this, yato eta bostu ase, moi ki kolu, eta ase industry worker or karone CPI, eta ase agriculture labor or karone, eta ase rural or karone, aru eta ase combined, that is rural plus urban. Of this, the first 3, this first 3 are compiled by the Labor Bureau in the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Etu kune kori ase? Labor Ministry kori ase. Okay, and who is directly doing this one, that is the combined one? 4th is compiled by the NSO, that is under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. And what is the base year for this particular CPI? It has been revamped to 2012 base year. Okay, and even recently the Ministry of Employment released the new series of consumer price index for industrial workers with the base year of 2016. And even the Monetary Policy Committee uses CPI data to control inflation. So therefore we can see that this is one of the major criteria why we are saying about something which is known as CPI. It is only more about WPI. So WPI tracks inflation at the producer level. About to supply level. It is producer level. And CPI captures changes in price level at the consumer levels. WPI is for producer level, CPI is for consumer level. Likha hai no? Consumer index, so therefore it is the consumer level. So WPI does not capture changes in the price of services, but CPI does. So therefore in WPI, more weightage is given to the manufactured goods, but in the CPI, more weightage is given to the food items. So that is the main criteria why I have to say something about the WPI as well as the CPI. Okay, so yate moi ekita kwa ase jekita moi likhi disilu. Okay, so you can see about the weight diagram for basket of goods and services are the CPI. Okay, so yate amar CPI dot ki ase consumer goods, foods and beverages like pan, tobacco, clothing, housing, fuel and light, health, education, transport, recreation, personal, household requisite, others. You can see this one. Yat bute bhalke diye ase. Dekhuna kiman use kori ase. Okay, 45.75% foods and beverages, you can see. Okay, that is basically the CPI, which base year is 2012 now. It will like this. Okay, then you can see about the wholesale price index. consumer price tag, percentage change of weighted average, we take the prices of given basket of goods which is traded in bulk. Okay, so it was here. So as the WPI mo kotha koi diu. So it's a measure of the average wholesale price movement for the economy. To compile WPI, prices are tracked as under manufactured products, factory price, agricultural commodities, agri market, minerals, X mine price. Ebla bostu ase. So aji moi jodi yate pie diagram khon saw. So yate pie diagram khon we can see food articles is also 18.80%, non-food articles 5.18%, crude, petroleum and oil 2.97. So এই দুটেইখন ইয়াতো চাৰ্ট এখন দিয়া আছে pie diagrams, which is defining that why WPI is also very important in the context of India. So therefore it is one of the key macroeconomic indicators of inflation. So it has the mukhude, what is inflation, sir? So I can directly say that inflation refers to the rise of prices of most goods and services which is of daily or common use. That may be food, that may be clothing, that may be housing, that may be recreation, that may be transport, that may be consumer staples, etc. And therefore inflation measures the average price change in the basket of commodities and services over time. So it is indicative of the decrease in purchasing power of a unit or a country's currency, which would ultimately lead to the deceleration of the economic growth of the country. So therefore, এনেকুৱা নহয় যে inflation নোহোৱাটো বেয়া. Inflation হ'ব লাগে, but control থাকিব লাগে. So moderately level of inflation is required in the economy to ensure the production is promoted. And therefore, in India, inflation is primarily measured by two main indices, which is the WPI and the CPI. That measures the wholesale and the retail level price changes respectively. It was okay. So therefore, even inflation, if you are talking about inflation, we are directly categorizing something which is known to be the WPI and we have something known to be the CPI. So CPI and WPS inflation, CPI and WPS collagens can directly take the form of what? The inflation as a system which is very much needed moderately in every economy. Because without inflation, it would be difficult to manage the economy in its bad term and also to promote welfare or developmental activities in this particular purpose. So etu ahi gol amar WPI aru CPI logot concept. Okay, so here WPI ki kolo measure of average wholesale price movements of the economy, average change in prices of commodities for bulk sale at the level of early stage of transaction, that is the producer level. CPI ki ho jai? CPI mainly we are focusing on the consumer level. Okay, that is price of fixed consumption basket of goods and services purchased by households. So এইবিলাক কি হয়? Finished products, consumers, foods and beverages and all these things. আর এইবিলাক কি হয়? They are basically food articles which are basically one of the part of the producer level. Okay, so এই দুটাই আমাক define কৰে about what we can say about the we can say about something which is known to be the inflation. So এতিয়া যদি মই কওঁ about the limitations of the GDP, quality of life, okay, বুজি পোৱা? So GDP gives no idea about quality of life, non-market transactions, এইবিলাকটো নকয়. GDP is just এটা factor উলিয়াই দিয়ে. So what is the basic income that we have done through the finished goods of in a particular year? That's what income inequality, yes, does not account for income distribution in any way. Sustainability, increasing GDP will only be sustainable as long as it does not deplete natural resources too. Okay, so that is one of the less criteria what we can see with respect to the impacts of GDP. So GDP ki khini nedekhay amak, ki khini dekhabo lage, ki khini nedekhay. That is also one of the major aspect why we are directly defining something which is known to be the GDP or the gross domestic product. Okay, so that was all from my side today in this particular part of SMMC, okay, which is going with the economics part. So as we have already discussed about that, we are starting a full-length test series from 17th, 18th and 19th June, okay, where this is the basic highlights of the program, okay. So this is also, you can see the timetable which has been given below. So obviously with the same pattern, just like APSC will conduct the mains. So 17th June, 18th June, 19th June, ami yate in this particular timings we will organize the full-length tests both online as well as offline. Okay, so ami etu pati asu. So please do join us for this one. Also, we will be going for some of the dedicated essay shorts which we have already uploaded. You can visit to our YouTube channel, okay, for some of the further videos, okay. Also, you can see that we will be also going with some of the ethics case studies, okay, where you will identify various number of dilemmas and we will take some of the strategies to maximize your marks in this particular ethics case studies. Okay, so this will be all be recorded and it will be sent to you via the YouTube platform. Do join us via the CSAP channel, okay, and do connect with us via this particular platform. So that was all from my side today with the SMMC. We'll meet you soon with some another episode. Thanks to all. Have a great day ahead.